What are you doing right now? Like, what are you up to?
Oh, well, that's a big question. Right now I am a UX researcher. Basically it's like I am an ergonomist, you could say. UX researcher is a fancy term,
Mm-hmm.
and it's I'm working in a robotics company
Mm-hmm.
currently, and I'm basically trying to not by myself, of course, but I am
Mm-hmm.
working on making the interaction between humans and the robots they use, which are usually humanoid robots. I'm working on making this interaction a bit smoother. But my main activity at 60% is my PhD, because I started the PhD
Cool.
in that same company. So it's a specific contract in France that's called a CIFRE. You do your PhD, but you are working in a company at the same time. And
Yeah, we
your
got the
PhD.
same stuff. Yeah,
Oh, great. And
totally understand.
and so yeah, that's the thing. And my PhD is on the same topics. Obviously, I
Oh,
mean,
okay, okay.
I won't enter
So
in
you
the
do a lot
details.
of 200 IQ stuff, and you're
Well,
finishing college, basically, right? And I
uh,
know that takes a bunch of time, basically, right?
yeah, no, I'm not finishing college. Basically, I started working like before my PhD. I was already working there, but it's
Oh, okay, okay.
as a part of my job. They told me,
Mm-hmm.
hey, if you want, you can do a PhD.
Yeah, it works in
Um,
favor for both.
exactly.
What's the so you're not streaming anymore, right? You're not doing YouTube. You told me you're not gonna do it anytime soon or ever, right? Can you like
Yeah.
explain a bit about it? Like why?
Um,
What are the reasons for it?
okay, several reasons. I think the first reason is that people expect me to perform. Like they usually don't go on my streams just for my personality. Or I mean, I really hope they don't because like the content I offer was mainly based around my usual gameplay. And let's say to perform good to my standards, I need to play a lot. I need to grind. There is a variance that I don't like to have when I'm not grinding. You can be very in shape, and the next day you can be very bad. And I I don't like this variance. Like I don't like to have bad
I
streams.
totally
And
understand. Yeah,
mm,
totally.
so okay, nice. Well, that's exactly the reason I don't want to stream right now, and because I think you know you have two kind of streamers: people who are streaming mainly based on their personality, and people who are mainly based on their gameplay.
On
And
skill, yeah.
people, yeah, exactly. And I think I tend much more to be on the gameplay side than on well, when I watch my old streams, I definitely cringed sometimes. So I think I need to have a correct level, or otherwise people will not have. I think you know people watch someone usually because he or she is like a reference in a given game. Like they want to see one of the best players. They don't want to waste time watching some kind of good player. They just want to see who
Yeah.
in that game is among the best
You're
players. And
basically you're basically exceptional or you're fun. There's no
yeah,
in between.
exactly. So if I play right now, I would just be another tryhard, like any guy streaming on Twitch. So I don't think I would bring much, and I would most likely stay stuck around 100, 200 viewers, unless I really work on my personality. Yeah, I mean, you get that it takes a lot of mental energy to play. I guess even for you, like you're 25. I guess after you play, let's say 4 hours at full focus, uh,
No, no, I can't even do 4 hours full focus. Probably like
oh,
maybe one, two, and I'm drained, you
okay.
know?
Yeah, well, that's the same thing for me. Even more, I would say, the older I get, the less I can play a long time without having a headache. And since my gameplay is sometimes unnecessarily hectic, I it takes a real toll on my brain. I
Yeah,
had a
yeah, of course.
stream when I was still playing Battlefield 5. I think I played something like 10 hours full. I was really
Oof.
focused. I was really good. I was really happy with myself. And when
Mm-hmm.
I finished that stream, I felt like I was 15 again. Like I felt like I could play as much as I
Yeah,
wanted to. And actually, the two next days, I had
you were
a huge,
completely, yeah, completely
huge headache.
drained. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, about this randomness, the worst part is that you have a randomness coming from the game itself, and you have
Of course,
randomness
yeah.
coming from your natural. I mean, from your personal state, if you are tired, if you're not tired,
Yeah.
many parameters that sometimes I don't understand personally. Like I slept 3 hours, but somehow I'm very good. And the next day I slept 10 hours. I took a coffee, and somehow I am
Yeah.
uninspired. Uh,
Basically, yeah.
and yeah, when you combine all these parameters, you realize that if your if your baseline is not high enough, you're putting yourself at the risk of, I would say, being humiliated on stream if you're, not.
If you are
Uh,
you, like Rela, like the
I mean, if people
aimbot.
have expectations about
Yeah,
you,
of course. I mean, yeah.
and that, yeah, so you need your average base, your maybe your baseline to be high. That way, even if you're at the very bottom of the pit, you're still good. And I think if you can't do that, and that you are one of these guys that people watch for their skill, you need to work more. You may look very bad on stream sometimes, and people may say, "Hey, it's not like on the videos." Yeah.
Yeah, it's live. You can't cut it out.
Mm.
Yeah, I do understand completely. And also, you said the randomness in games and the
Because you are in
randomness
danger.
in like your own play, and I think the tilt that comes from games and just being angry with the randomness in game, because let's say you're random and you're not having a good day, and the randomness in game just multiplies. But like,
Yeah,
let's say bad netcode, like spread. A lot of randomness, like generally randomness, like mechanics in the games. Like let's say hit registration is not on point and you lose the fight and you're like just well this is just bullshit, right?
yeah. I think that's why I think good players are able to see long run. They are able to have a vision of the game that's not focused on the fight they just lost, or the next fight. They are thinking average. And I really believe that there is a huge connection to do with poker, for example.
Mm-hmm.
If you, I mean, one of my friends is actually a professional poker player, and is actually earning,
Oh,
well,
cool.
not a lot of money, but enough money to survive, I'll say, online. And it's incredible to see him play, because he's usually going to be happy when he loses, but that the player played bad in front of him. And
Oh,
if it were me, I would say, what the fuck, this dumb guy played the worst possible hand and won against me. But he's actually happy because on the long run, if the same guy keeps playing the same way, he is going to win,
yeah,
because he
he's
has,
going to
like,
win, of
I
course.
don't know, they played the hand and he had 70% chances to win, and the guy in front had invested a lot of money, so it was EV plus, etc. I mean, it was the expected value was very high, and he lost. All right.
Yeah,
But if the same guy does the same thing the next time, he still has like 70% of chance to win. So I think this is the kind of mentality that has to be translated to FPS games if you
yeah,
are.
but you literally have to have it. There's no other way, or you're just gonna
Yeah,
get burned out every time.
exactly. And you need
And
to really, force yourself to think
yeah,
that way. When you lose that
completely.
fight, you're like, okay, I must stop thinking about that fight. Maybe even players who are on Fortnite or playing battle royales in general have
Mm-hmm.
this. They have this long run vision, because battle royales have a lot of randomness, depending on
Yes.
where you're dropping, depending on who is with you, so many parameters that you can't control, and that's why I think these guys are, like, good at having this poker vision that I was talking about. They are just playing a lot of games, and they know that if they keep playing the right way, they will win a good amount of the games they do, but not all
Mhm.
the games.
Why?
As a competitive player, you don't choose the game.
True.
It's You just play a game, and you end up going competitive. It's like if you watch the how, like, the biggest stars in CS:GO, for example, started the game. They usually just play the game on their brother's computer, and since they were good at the game, they started to go in some small teams, and they ended up succeeding on CS:GO.
Yeah, they get
And
drafted in a team,
exactly.
basically.
So I really think it's about chance. You need to have a lot of experience to already be like a good competitive player, to actually choose the next game. To
Of
think
course, yeah.
strategically, to be like, okay, so this
But
Overwatch game is going
you
out.
had to love Battlefield. Like,
Yeah, Well, okay, that's a long story, but basically, I played Soldier of Fortune 2. I was a competitive player in that game.
Mm-hmm.
I spent my whole teenage years on that game.
Jesus.
Then when I was 15, oh no, sorry, 16, I stopped playing games completely for a few years. And then I entered college. I was a good student, and I was fully focused at succeeding in college and in general. And
Okay.
my girlfriend at the time offered me Battlefield 3, and she told me, "You should have some fun. You are working too much. Relax." Which was the worst thing she could do, because I started playing Battlefield 3, and since I had all this competitive experience, I was spontaneously better than people. Not because I am, talented, but just because I was actually much more experienced than most people who play the game. Uh, but I had this constant feeling of being in the zone, of being,
Of course, I
everything I
know. Yeah, actually,
yeah.
yeah.
So you just arrive on the
You
game
knew the
and
ropes and you were in the zone. That's like 1 plus 1. That's it. That's all you need.
yeah, exactly. And so that's why I think I went competitive on the game, because I had this, like, my progression curve was very uh, quick, I'd say. Uh, and it gave me, well, the false impression that I could keep progressing like this on this game or on any game all my life, which is obviously wrong. I was just, basically, I was catching up on my previous experience on Soldier of Fortune 2. So yeah, that's why I went competitive on that game, because um, I had this feeling of constant flow. Yeah, I think that's another topic, but also you have the gameplay of the game. Maybe you want to talk about it. Obviously, Battlefield 3 is a very specific game with very specific gameplay, which did a lot of things right in terms of gameplay mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and you have I mean, that's a topic in itself. Maybe we can talk about it after if you want. And there is also the notion of recognition. Battlefield 3 was a game where the competitive scene was not professionalized yet. It was a lot of good players who were, just starting in their competitive career. Um, and I think it was a scene where it was easy to get some recognition. If you were just okay-ish as a competitive player, you could have your YouTube channel. People could say, "Hey, you're not that bad. You're actually good." And well, I think I needed that at the time to
Yeah.
to get some social recognition, to have someone to tell me, "Hey, you're actually very good. How do you do that?" And when you are at the stage in your life, when you're a student and you're not in the professional world yet, but you want already some recognition, video games are just like not necessarily a trap, but they are they are giving you recognition. In my case, almost without working. I just arrived on the game, I was good at the game, and people liked my videos. So yeah, there was some kind of psychological need that was
Well, you want to deb in like what makes a good competitive game, in your opinion?
um, yeah. Do you want to talk about that Battlefield 3 in particular, or in
Just like
general?
let's say you want to make a game, right? And
Hmm.
what makes it a good competitive game, in your opinion?
Uh,
You can choose Battlefield as a reference. Why not?
yeah. Well, I would say first the pace of the game. Uh,
Okay.
I am it's in terms of preferences, I am a person that's not very patient. A pace like Rainbow Six Siege is not something I can handle.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pace that's much too slow for me. And actually, I know a few excellent players who couldn't stand that pace. I mean, one of the best players I know is called 9XT. He's actually currently a big streamer on Call of Duty, and he couldn't stand the pace of Rainbow Six. He actually had like, I think, a very nice career in front of him, and but he just couldn't. It's just like
Okay.
not his gameplay. He's a very hectic guy. He
Mm-hmm.
he has a very also flashy aim, etc. So I would say the pace has to put you in the state of flow, as we were talking about,
Mm-hmm.
easily. So I would say no in French we say temps mort, no yeah, that's him, 9XT.
Hmm.
So a good pace, and I will let the game designer define what a good pace is because that depends on the game, on the mechanics, etc.
Of course, yeah.
Uh, um, the second thing will be for me to have gunplay mechanics which are skilled enough to make
Differentiate players.
yeah, to make one versus ones less random, but which are not too complicated. Otherwise, you will have random one versus ones for the opposite reason, which is that no one actually manages to control the
Yeah.
weapon good
It's
very well.
the you played Rust,
Yeah,
or do you know Rust? So you know the AK recoil in the Rust? It's like
which
insanely like
yeah,
crazy. So yeah,
yeah,
that's exactly what you're like thinking right now.
yeah,
So
exactly.
not as much complicated as Rust, but like not as like super easy as like some laser games.
I mean, it's a common issue for games. Usually, you have to find that right balance between
The sweet
easy
spot.
fights and yeah, exactly. And I think some professional Valorant players were complaining that their fights were a bit too random because Valorant was a little bit too random in one versus ones.
Mm-hmm.
I don't exactly remember what exactly were the mechanics they were accusing, but yeah, that's definitely something that's very important. And if we want to talk about Battlefield 3, I think Battlefield 3 is a great example of a game that had skilled shooting mechanics,
Mm-hmm.
which were maybe stupidly simple. And someone will say, yeah, but that was easy. M16, you just had to click, 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 or and that's it. Yeah, but the way the recoil was responding to your hand, etc., all this made fights. You could always have that small edge if you manage to
Yeah, you actually made a
have that.
video about it with
Yeah,
Marble Duck, like what makes
yeah.
enjoyment. I watched the whole video and was
Oh,
like,
nice.
I really liked your opinion on it.
Well, okay, but well, then you got me. That's exactly the same speech I'm giving you here.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I think that's maybe for me that's one of the most important part.
Yeah, but you were speaking about like how you like when you kill people, it's like there's like something you can explain. It's like just the satisfaction of just killing people, like the sounds and the input from the gun, and like literally the whole package in Battlefield 3 was like enjoyable for you.
Yeah, it was really enjoyable. I think it's called sometimes kinetic uh, pleasure. It's like the feeling you have, almost the feeling of the touch feeling you have when you.
Yeah, it's like when you
Um,
do something. It's like when you know the headshot sounds.
yeah, yeah,
It just gets me like every time. Any game that has a headshot sound, it's just so good.
yeah, exactly.
Like
And
I can't explain it.
Call of Duty is extremely good with that. If you watch the sound design in Call of Duty, it's insanely good.
Yeah,
And I'm pretty sure they have not necessarily psychologists, but just good sound designers. They know how to give you the feeling that your bullets are just hitting
hitting.
flesh.
Yeah, you don't even
That's
have to see it. You just
yeah,
listen. Yeah,
they're just
basically.
pure catharsis. Like you are hurting someone by shooting at that person.
Yeah.
So that's stupidly simple, but I think it works. We are not. I mean, when you're playing a video game, you're not trying to have a lot of feelings, but just the fact of knowing you're impacting the other player
Yes.
is yeah, movement is definitely there. But I think even their gunplay design is not that simple, not that bad. If you watch PC players videos, sometimes they're doing some insane stuff. Like they are, you talked about my game style, but you have people on Call of Duty who are doing really impressive things. And
Yeah, but you were doing it before then. So
well,
you're the grandfather.
yeah,
I
someone
mean, right?
someone on Twitter said I'm the Arnold Schwarzenegger of
You are.
gaming.
You made it. You literally made it.
Yeah,
Like I'm not capping here. You are the grandfather of these like other like streamers and YouTubers and blah 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 players. And they'll like I see a lot of you in them, like having a lower sensitivity, really snappy aim, really different, like really wrist aimy, you know?
yeah, but it's always about having the new meta. I think in any scenes it's always the same thing. You have people who have the classical way to play the game, and you have some new guys who are like, okay, I can't beat them at their own game, so maybe I can try something different. And it's the same thing. I think it appeared at the transition from Battlefield 3 to Battlefield 4 in our case.
Mm-hmm.
Battlefield 3 was dominated by low sense for a good reason, which is that the game was really aim based, and every small millimeter you had could make a difference. Of course,
Yeah,
it
that's
had
why.
this gameplay. I also had a rather low sensitivity on Battlefield 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, actually, I was a fan of JK, and Jika had, I think, 80 centimeters for a complete turn, 60 degrees, which is
Oof.
yeah, it's incredibly low. And he was very efficient in matches. Like he was performing very well in offline tournaments. So I was like, hey, why not try? But then when we arrived on Battlefield 4, which is a much more, I would say, movement based game uh, and less aim based
More Call
game.
of Duty-ish. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, exactly. Especially at the start of the game, where well, fights were not really interesting. It was very, I mean, the gameplay design was not as refined as it was later. So I realized that I struggled needlessly with my low sense. I was at 40 centimeters when I started Battlefield 4.
Okay.
And we had an offline tournament that was the Gamers Assembly. It's I'd say you could say the French tournament.
Friend,
And
you became a champion there. Is the one that I got it
yeah,
here.
that was my first offline tournament on
Oh,
Battlefield.
okay.
And during the bootcamp, I was like, "What the fuck am I doing? I'm struggling, and I'm not at the right level I should be." And I just decided to go back to my old Soldier of
In the
Fortune
middle
2.
of a LAN tournament.
No, before during the bootcamp,
Oh, during the
like
boot camp.
actually
Okay.
2 weeks before the
But
tournament.
even
So
then,
I
like you like that's insane.
desperation move.
Like let's say you're a pro athlete and you go somewhere and you're like doing the Olympics and you're like doing the
Desperation.
preparations, yeah, and then you're like, all right, I'm gonna run differently now.
Yeah, exactly. It was
Insane.
my last option, really. I was not bad, but I felt like I needed to perform at a very good level to win that tournament. And the only option I had was to go back to my old gameplay, which I had my whole my during my teenage years, which was Hisense. Uh, and you don't forget these things, which is
Mm-hmm.
very good because yeah, in 2 weeks I could adapt. I increased my field of view. I increased my sensitivity to, I
Yeah,
think it was
it just gets
20
it's
cent.
natural. Like you literally get it like really really fast. Like you can always go back to what you're used to. It just like
Yeah,
it's engraved in you. Like
exactly. And so it worked. We won the LAN. I think I performed very well for my standards at this offline tournament.
mm-hmm.
And this is where I started to think, wow, there is some potential about, doing that very um, flicky gameplay
Flicking,
that,
yeah.
yeah, it's the way I played all my life. But I realized that maybe Battlefield 4 was like adapted to that kind of gameplay. It was
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
maybe optimal or not completely suboptimal. So I
mm-hmm,
started to work on that, and yeah, I mean, then it started to be recognized, and some people did the same. And
mm-hmm.
actually, completely independently from me, some Brazilian players who are, and I think they were the best players on Battlefield 4. I mean, their teams, the two top Brazilian teams were potentially the best teams on Battlefield
Brazilians?
4, except for the Fnatic team who stomped everyone. But besides Fnatic, they were, I think, really really good, the Brazilian, and they also developed their own gameplay completely in their, I mean, on their own. And one of their aiming style was also, very close to mine, like jumping, etc. And the guy I talked
Jumping,
about,
flicking.
yeah,
Yeah.
jumping flicking, yeah. And the guy I was talking about in NXT, he was really good with that.
That's
Like,
also a really good thing. Like I find games boring where I cannot learn anything. Like there's no moves, there's no like tricks or things I can do to like be better than the regular puppy, right? Then the game
yeah,
is boring to me. Like I can't. There's no skill ceiling. I can't learn. Like let's say
yeah, I
Zulu jump.
completely
Zulu
agree.
jump is like you have to like kind of get used to it. You have to learn it. You need to know how it works and to know how to abuse it correctly around the as you said the correct walls because some walls don't work basically. And you need to know
Yeah,
the maps and everything blah 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 and how to move like and using the same jump all the time like chain it.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
it just it's like another skill ceiling, right? It's so it's not boring. It's so interesting, right? It makes a new game basically.
Yeah. I call that the mystery of the mechanics. You feel like there is something to dig. I,
Yeah, something to dig.
Battlefield 3 had a lot of that. That's why people in the
Euro hip
deep
fire and stuff.
community, yeah, and of course Battlefield 4 had a little bit of that. The Zuzu jump is one of these things, and that's one of my problems with newer games.
They fix it,
Yeah, usually they are too polished, they are too clean, and you
like
don't
Battlefield One.
have a lot of things to to dig. I think Rainbow Six was pretty good on this side. Like, if, I don't know if you know that this guy is very famous on Rainbow Six.
The name.
I forgot. Bolo, I think. Yeah, Bolo.
Pretty sure I heard
Um,
about him. Yeah.
yeah, and he managed to find a way to abuse the leaning mechanism, so that he could just, like lean shoot. Uh,
Yeah, left, right, so nobody hits
yeah,
him. Yeah,
exactly. And it was, this kind of
everybody was doing it.
abilities are at the same time they are breaking the game, definitely, but at the same time they are also attracting attention, they
Of
are
course.
stimulating players, they are stimulating their they are just going on a map to
Hmm,
test
hmm.
stuff. So I think they are actually good for the game. Maybe it's good to fix them at one point, but it's also good to have them
Yeah,
from the start.
of course. And I'm,
And
I'm gonna go back to COD 4 now. So in COD 4, the game was broken, right? So you could
yeah,
look through walls. You could jump from like buildings and then bounce like the whole map away. I mean, not the whole map, but a lot. You can get on some high buildings with like using glitches and like different FPS. You could like do like a 125 FPS jump. Like you can do a 333 jump, like 333 FPS. You jumped higher, basically, right?
yeah,
It
exactly.
was broken, but people were playing like for real money on the broken game, and everybody liked it. Nobody wanted to change it. It was insane. It was so good. Another skill ceiling, amazing, great, more skill,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But
Yeah, I
newer
mean the
games,
glitches were part of the game. It
yeah,
was the
basically,
gameplay. It
it
was
was
a
that's
feature
it.
if you want.
Yeah,
Yeah.
feature, yeah, basic feature, a bonus, let's say. And a newer game, it's like I'll take Battlefield One. All right, I can slide. The start of the Battlefield One, just everybody was just sliding like fucking idiots everywhere. And I was using it to like beat snipers, like move faster, lean behind corners and stuff. And then they just like, oh, we're gonna patch it because newer players cannot aim. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna uninstall the game. And I never played it before. Like that's it. I didn't play it.
Well,
But
they are just too narrow. You can't really try new stuff. You are forced in a specific way of playing by the
yeah,
designers, and of course, the designer will tell you, "No, I'm allowing a lot of ways of playing. You can be a sniper, you can be an infantry guy lying on the ground with a heavy
yeah,
machine gun." But I think they are not seeing that you have ways of playing infantry in general that are
yeah.
not,
The middle ground. What's the middle
exact.
ground?
Yeah, no, it's even like you can have, it's not because you give different weapons with different properties that you are allowing players to really play the game in different ways. If you give someone an AOK on Battlefield 5, that person will not be able to play the AOK like on Battlefield 4.
Of course, yeah.
There is almost no connection between what they will be doing. So sadly, it's very complicated right now. I think to have games that are not polished and forcing you in exactly the way the designers felt the game had to be played.
But it's so
It's
weird. Like it's like people have changed or something. Like I don't. It's hard to understand. Yeah.
yeah, maybe Call of Duty is not like this. I don't know. I mean, people enjoy Warzone a lot, and you can do a lot of stuff on Warzone. So I'm not sure Call of Duty is in that case, but definitely most of the recent very polished games
Mhm.
are just yeah,
Oh,
like this.
let's jump to Call of Duty. Actually, I have a few questions. I mean, not generally Call of Duty because you're not playing it, but you played Cold War, right? Correct?
I played Cold War, and before Cold War, I played the previous Call of Duty for just 1 week.
For the Modern Warfare, right? To
Yeah,
2019 one. Okay.
yeah.
So so you know where I'm coming from. What do you think about crossplay? And what I mean about crossplay is controllers and aim assist. What's your like 2 cents about that?
Well, with my 3 days of experience, I would say uh, it feels. Okay. So I'm not sure that console players are actually, you know, doing more damages to us PC players than when we actually meet PC players. But it feels unfair when you get killed by someone and then you watch the kill cam and the guy is tracking you perfectly, and you feel that you're actually playing different games and somehow you just collide in the middle of your two different
Exactly.
games.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's just about the feeling. It's about feeling that people who killed you don't deserve the kill, and
Yeah.
that makes you angry, so you don't enjoy the game as much. So
Yeah, that's the
yeah,
thing about Call of Duty community right now. A lot of players now hate on controller players. They call them, teamy no thumbs and like, useless and like really bad. But
yeah,
the controller players just they don't care. They just say, I'm better than you, and he's using a controller with aim assist, and you're like, how about you turn off the aim assist and let's see who's better.
yeah.
They never do it because
No,
they
of
know
course.
what's gonna happen.
I mean that's yeah. I think maybe people can adapt to that thing, but you are usually playing against people who play the game with roughly the same setup as you, unless you are playing some game with like 30 FPS and someone has 200 FPS, in which case you are playing literally different games. And I
Literally,
think
yeah.
it's a bit of the same clash when you are putting PC players against console players. It's that you don't have the same hardware, so people are behaving in the way that you don't predict, and it also creates weird situations
Okay,
for
so
people.
next question. This is a big one. What do you think about skill-based matchmaking? If you know what it is,
Yeah,
I think you
I
do.
saw the the
Yeah, you
hashtag on
saw it on
Twitter.
Twitter. Yeah. Let's say you're a pro player. You're playing against the top players, and you can play against them for a few hours, but then you're done. You're drained. You gotta take a rest, right? You can try hard, basically. You can try hard the whole day,
Yeah,
and you want to play the game, but you gotta grind the game. But you constantly need to try hard. The new word is sweat. You need to sweat. Sweat. Always sweat. 24/7 sweat. Um, so I would say playing against skilled players is good. But yeah, as you said in Battlefield 4, you joined that one server, the bug something, like just like domination, just played against really good players. Uh, it's a good practice, but then I think, okay, 2 hours of practice, then I go pub stomp, right? I go 100 and 0, right? 101, right?
mm,
Because you know you gotta win. You gotta turn your brain off and have fun. You know, but in skill-based matchmaking, what it does, it just forces you to play against people who are similarly skilled as you, like not as you, or maybe they're even better than you, or like a little bit, worse than you, but still you gotta like, be on your edge all the time. And it's
yeah,
really, really tiring and really, really annoying.
yeah.
That's like that's what I think about it.
Uh, my take will be the same from my perspective. In my own interest, I obviously think you're right because we are experienced players. So when we go in non skill based matchmaking, we can turn off our brains. But the problem is for the rest of the players. I'll say for especially beginners, um, they can't turn their brains off because if they do, they get stomped even more. So,
Oh, that's
um,
good.
hmm?
Because that is good in my opinion, because when I started playing Call of Duty, I was the noob. I didn't know
Hmm.
anything. This was like basically, I mean, I knew how to hold a mouse. I'm like working in IT, and I was like getting schooled with, I mean, who doesn't know how to use a mouse, right? So, but I was so bad. But me getting destroyed and having 050 made me like, all right, I'm gonna learn this. I'm gonna be better, and in
Yeah,
like a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, I'm gonna destroy all of you, basically, right? That's your mentality. You wanna learn, you wanna be better, and that's
yeah,
what
yeah,
like
yeah,
motivates you to become better. You see, yo, this guy has 100 kills. He's cheating. That's what they say now. I was. How do you have 100 kills? What do you do? Let me spectate you. I was spectating people for the whole day in Call of Duty just to see what class are they using, what perks, how are they playing, where are they camping, how are they moving, what are they doing. I was like literally scientifically, like breaking down their gameplay, and I was mimicking all of their movements and all the good players.
yeah. I
And
see.
with time, I got better, and I was like, this is the way. This is
Hmm.
how you need to be better. Like you can't just say, yo, Papa, Call of Duty, give us skill-based matchmaking because we're getting destroyed. No, you just have to get good,
Yeah.
and if not, you're just gonna get destroyed. But that's life. Like in real life, you're gonna get destroyed if you're like, you're not, everybody can take advantage of you unless you don't want them to take the advantage of you,
Yeah, I
basically,
see.
right?
So yeah, so the bottom of your argument will be that beginners don't care about being stomped as much as experienced players. So overall, if you have skill-based matchmaking, you have everyone getting stomped and no
Yeah,
one's having
basically.
fun, right? Okay.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's a good point. I yeah, we have been as educated by hardcore video games, where if you wanted to do anything in a video game, you needed to uh, well get
Use your
better.
hands.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. I also started video games as a small newbie, just watching
of course.
players doing insane stuff, and I was like, "What the fuck? This guy is so good! I need to
Yeah,
emulate him."
yeah,
Then you learn, you have this inferiority complex. You're like, "Wow, he's so good!" And then you actually realize he's just good, and then you are actually as good as him, etc. So I definitely think it's a good way to play video games, and so if everybody is like us, which is potentially the case, I agree with you. No, I just don't know how real beginners do, people who have a job on the side and who start video games at like 45 years old. I literally don't know how they think. That's not something I
yeah,
can even
yeah.
comprehend because
You can't. Yeah,
I'm too experienced, and I don't understand.
but
It's like a pro tennisman who will try to understand
yeah,
some 55 years old grandpa playing tennis. Your argument is relevant. I agree. Like, even if it's 70% of the players who are just average players who don't really care about getting better or anything, they may enjoy the game more, even if the people in front of them are just super good pros, because they get to meet top players, they get to meet people who can play the game, and maybe they will get stimulated. So yeah, I agree. This is a good take, I think.
what do you categorize as a good aim? Like when you see a player playing, how do you, if you see, let's say you see 10 players playing and they're all decent, but what do you categorize as good aim? Like above average or like exceptional aim?
Consistency. Consistency and explosion, I would say. I like the balance between how consistent the player is and how that guy or girl is able to just explode in complicated situations where there is nothing else than pure aim, ex- um, pure feats of aim to survive. I think consistency is the most important part, because if you
Hmm.
are a competitive player, you need very high consistency to win most of your fights. It doesn't matter
Hmm.
if you ace on Valorant every 2 games. If you are unable to
Win
kill,
all the other rounds. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But at the same time, I think like great aimers are a combination of this baseline of good consistency and an ability to, go into that. I don't know. I was going to say, super instinct. You know,
Super
uh,
instinct. All right.
yeah, anyway, so they have this baseline, and on the side they have this ability to really focus on their aim for a few seconds and just do insane stuff, with a lot of flicks and a lot of movements that you should
Hmm.
not do, because that implies that you are not correctly positioned and that your aim has to adapt to what you lack in positioning. But when you are in situations where you have nothing to do but aim, that's where you will see this explosion be useful. So that's the two parameters I will take into account.
Okay, so yeah, basically what you're saying is like what I'm always like saying to my like let's friends or somebody else who like is new to like aiming and stuff. I say always get yourself in shitty positions and aim yourself out. Like
Uh, I mean, yeah, I will do two things. I will be try to play the game in the safest ways possible. So you actually work on your aim when you are correctly positioned. So
yeah,
you, for
positioning
example, you don't
basically.
try to flick people when you don't need to flick people because they are just in your crosshair. But also on maybe not 50% of the time, but in well, also on the side, try to put yourself, as you said, in shitty positions
Yeah,
so that
challenge
you
yourself,
work on
challenge
your,
game.
I don't know, on your emergency aim, if you want.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say at high level, if I had to choose between two players and one of them is more on the explosive side and the other guy is
Hmm.
more on the consistent side, sadly, I will take the consistent guy because,
I mean, it
um,
is pro. Like it's a team of players. I mean,
yeah, and if you know you can rely
consistency
on
is
someone
king.
and that this person is not going to fail most of his shots, you
Yeah.
don't need to that guy to explode. You just need him to be good at the small role is given. Know the story with Scream, the CS:GO player.
I know what you
Uh,
mean.
yeah, he NBK, so one of his former teammates, was
Hmm.
explaining why Scream was usually not um, hired by many teams. It's because even though he's extremely good at headshotting people, uh,
Hmm.
he's going to be less consistent. It's more about if he fails someone's head, he dies.
Yeah.
And if you are the guy
And
behind him,
the
but you
team
are a
suffers
guy
basically.
relying more on spraying, well, you will
Hmm.
maybe fail, but you will at least put some bullets in the
Yeah.
guy. So I see the next question is about Kovacs.
You can do them all together if you want. That's why I got it
Yeah.
all like here. You can just answer all of them. But yeah.
um, I think I'm a very old school person, and
Hmm.
I believe that practicing your own game is what should be, I don't know, like 95% of your
Hmm.
time.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, like it really depends on the game. Of course, if you are playing something like Fortnite, you don't have a lot of event repetition when you play public. You will have a few fights at the start of the game, and then you will spend a lot of time running and actually searching for
Yeah, looting
resources.
and yeah stuff.
So in that case, it's understandable that you will spend more time on Kovacs and aim trainers in general
Hmm.
to train the specific scenarios you want to be good in Fortnite.
Hmm.
Um, and be good at. But when you are playing a game like, I know, for example, for CS:GO, with the specific aim it requires, I feel like playing the game is the most important part. Actually, I tweeted about that a few months ago.
Hmm.
Zaiwu, who is extremely good at the game, never plays any form of aim trainers. He doesn't use
Not even
Kovacs,
the
obviously.
CS:GO bots.
He doesn't do CS:GO bots. He doesn't
Oh.
do these kind of things. He
Hmm.
just plays matchmaking, or in his case, FPL when he was
Hmm.
younger.
Yeah, he just grinds. That's it.
Yeah, he just grinds, and I feel like when your game is you know when it fits the game, it's a perfectly legitimate way to do. And
Hmm.
actually, Olaf Meister before Zaiwu, also when he was the best player in the world, like I think 5 years ago,
Hmm.
also never played any deathmatch or any aim trainer. He just played the game. He just did FPL matches or
Yeah,
uh, training matches.
I totally understand because when I was playing Call of Duty, and I was a noob, like I was horrible, and then I was like almost like we had like skill levels. You had like low, mid, high, academy, and pro, right? And I was
Yeah,
hitting like the academy level. Uh, I was never. I told you I never thought about my aim. About I was just playing the game, dude. I was just grinding it out, 24/7, right? And yeah, basically, like you're right. You should. I guess what you want to say is like use game as the main thing and use coax and aim labs as a substitute if you don't have enough confrontations in the game, basically,
yeah,
right?
that's exactly my point.
Like if you're
And
playing battle royale, you gotta do something, you know. I
yeah,
mean, I'm let's say I'm playing Worlds and I'm looting like 80%, and I mean, I'm really aggressive, so I just go for fights anyway. Before I know I'm gonna die, but I just don't care, right? I just want to shoot. But
I think one point is also to play when you're training, to try
mm-hmm.
to play mindfully. That's, I think, Mayek, a Battlefield 4 player, tweeted about that like a long time ago, maybe 3 years ago, and I actually thought his tweet was very smart, and he explained how he plays, and what he does when he's playing is trying to think about everything he does. You can't do that in a real match because you have too many parameters. So you have to let go to your instincts. But
Yeah.
when you're training, the fact of thinking, why am I doing this? What should I do next? What should I do next?
Yeah.
How should I position myself? How should I aim? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, should I, you know, try to flick this guy, or should I run away? All this kind of stuff are uh, important to verbalize, or at least have
Mm-hmm.
in a in your head in a mindful way when you train. I think it's not something I didn't personally do enough, and I think it's very efficient.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe my point also would be that it's too easy to let yourself go to your automatisms, to your muscle memory, to
Yeah.
your to the flow, basically. And I
Yeah.
think what Mayek was saying is that you have to work a bit more when you are training, because you can
Mm-hmm.
train mindlessly by, as you say, just letting your aim go, which is fine for aiming. But if you want to do a bit more than just maintaining or your aim, or making it more consistent, when you need to actually renew your gameplay, when you actually need to progress
Yeah.
as a player, you definitely need to put that extra mental energy into thinking really about
Exactly.
what should I do. It's not enjoyable at all.
Okay, so let's go to the interesting point about you is how do you grip your mouse?
So currently I'm gripping my mouse in a way that's called the anchor aiming method.
I gotta
It's
Google this stuff.
Yeah, it's a guy that called Scrub Lel, who gave it that name in the video I tweeted
Mm-hmm.
uh, some
Is
times
that your
ago.
hand?
Yeah, it could be. Wait, I'm gonna put my hand. Yeah, I mean, you not necessarily need your hand to be in some kind of claw grip like on your photo, but you need your fingers
Mm-hmm.
to be so close to the mouse pad that you have friction. And this friction is going to be used to slow down the mouse when you need
Mm-hmm.
to, or to increase the speed of the mouse by releasing the friction
Mm-hmm.
when you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I want to say that I don't say this is optimal. It may be very suboptimal.
Mm-hmm.
It may be something that's very inferior to actually aiming without having any part of
Oh.
your hand that touches the mouse pad.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just the way I do. I got used to doing that as a kid, when we are still using
Mm-hmm.
laser sensors with very high lift off distances.
Yeah,
So
lasers. Yeah.
and I could actually play without the mouse touching the pad. I actually
I
had
play
my
without a mouse pad, with a laser mouse, like they were
no
just
no
normal.
I had a pad, but just the mouse was above the pad. It was not like the
Oh,
the
okay.
feet of the mouse were
You
not
were flying
touching.
it.
Yeah, it was like a floating, if you
You were
want,
flying the mouse.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Um.
but my hand was my hand, my fingers were, if you will, my fingers were the feet of the mouse.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly like in the video, like the guy showed, basically. Right.
yeah, exactly. So now I had to tone that way of holding the mouse down, since with the new sensors you usually have
3 millimeters
low,
at maximum. Yeah. The lift of.
and that's already very good. So yeah, usually 2
Yeah.
millimeters, and I still have this notion of pressure, but the
Mm-hmm.
mouse is still touching the pad now.
But
Yeah, that's the magic of, I think, of FPS
yeah,
games. Everybody has a weird
their own
way of
thing.
doing things, and you
Yeah.
discover more and more as time goes on. It's like tennis. Everybody's playing in a given way, and then you have a guy called Nadal coming and doing
Yeah.
his
It's
weird
super
lasso
weird.
movement with the racket. Yeah.
So, do you believe in practice makes perfect, or do you think that inherent natural skill has a thing in how people play or their skill ceiling, if you know what I mean, basically?
Mm. Um, okay, I think that most of the natural talent we see in players is usually just starting at a very young age.
Mm-hmm.
And since we don't, I mean, maybe now it's starting a lot with Fortnite and very young players, but when I was playing, it was still not that common to have people who played FPS games at like 8,
Yeah, yeah,
at
I know
an
what you
age
mean.
where you actually develop your
I was
brain,
playing Spyro
and
on PlayStation 1, basically.
yeah, exactly. So it's at least when I was playing, people who were uh, talented were usually people who had played games very very young. Uh, but yeah, definitely, of course, there is a question of natural talent.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't see why you will have no uh, difference whatsoever between individuals in terms of aiming. You have people who are just a little bit better and people who are a little bit worse.
Yeah,
I maybe my point is that I don't think it makes any difference unless you are going up to the top and checking about very very good players.
yeah, because
And
then you see the differences basically.
yeah, at their level, I'm absolutely sure that any small difference will be decisive. But
Hmm.
for most players, I think most of the differences you can see in aiming are explainable by whatever they are doing
Yeah.
with their training, at which age. Oh, the notion of skill is really blurry. Like if you take tennis and Roger Federer, you could say that he is a genius at tennis, and that
Hmm.
maybe it's not only about it's not only about starting early. He started tennis very like something like 8
Okay.
maybe, but it's also maybe like his body, his height, his hand
Hmm.
size, his way of moving is like optimal in terms of tennis. He has the best body for tennis.
Hmm.
Same thing for most of the top tennis players. So I think it's when we say skill, it can be that maybe you have a zone in your brain slightly more developed than most people, uh, and most of the time it's because of your training, not because of anything
Yeah,
else.
skill can be many things.
Yeah, and I think yeah, you have also other parameters, and I don't know about the hand size, this kind of stuff. I have no idea whether it's a parameter or not. Like you have people with very small uh,
Tiny hands.
wrists, yeah, tiny
Oh,
tiny wrists,
okay.
small hands, big hands. I don't know. Like maybe in 50 years we will have an answer. Maybe there is an optimal way to
Yeah, well,
yeah.
I mean the gaming is like blowing up. Like I'm not gonna lie, like this is gonna be a serious sport in like 20 years. Who knows
Yeah,
what kind of measurements are we gonna have, you know?
yeah.
But yeah, until like I don't know, like 10 years ago, gaming was just like a sideline basically. But now it's just insane. It's trumping like some sports, like no joke. So
Yep, it's blowing up, and there is a lot of money involved, and
oh yeah,
that's where I wonder, yeah, did I do the right choice by going away from gaming? Because
that's what I'm saying. You gotta come back, bro. You
no,
got it. You still
it's
got it.
really too late now. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
definitely people who are really involved in gaming right now have they can explode with the bubble of gaming. So that's nice.
yeah, they're just riding the train, the money train.
Yep.
But yeah, but you're the OG.
Well, it's
You
nice to
got
be
it
the
started.
OG, but if you don't get any, I mean, first of all, I don't think I'm the OG on many point on any point actually, but it's not very, besides telling stories to your grandchildren, like, yeah, I was the first guy to do
Yeah,
flips.
I was raking noobs.
Yeah, it's not really useful otherwise.
I mean, yeah, true, true. I know which. I mean, we're just kind of joking around, but yeah. Is it hard to be a pro player? Is it fun? Is it time consuming?
Depends on the scene. In our case, on Battlefield 4,
Mm-hmm.
the level was, I would say, average enough to allow most of us to have something on the side. Like you could be a student, you could work on the side. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's to tell you that the degree of commitment you needed to have was not extreme, really.
Oh, it was kind of relaxed, basically.
Exactly. Uh, like um, you needed, I would say, regular commitment, but
Mm-hmm.
you didn't need to do like some teams do on most of the most competitive games right now, which is to
Overcommit.
try hard every single day
Yeah.
for a lot of time.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, at the very start of Overwatch, people were playing 12 hours a day because the game had so much things to discover that they really needed to grind. Yeah, but that's still like I think it's still hard to be a pro player no matter the game.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if it's not your main activity, I mean, I think it's the same for any scene, tennis, football. If you didn't make it, you are forced to grind without recognition and without money.
Yeah.
So it's going to be hard, really. I think, like, it's always about the 1% of people who succeeded, and you look at them and you're like, wow, I would like to be like them. But you need to remember that 99% of the people are below them, and they don't have enough money, and they don't have enough recognition. So in the case of professional gaming, I will say yes, it's very hard to be a pro player.